Welcome back, everybody. How we doing today? Let me get this microphone a little closer here so we can sound pretty decent. I might have to adjust the levels, but nobody's made complaints, so I guess it's pretty much okay. Today we're going to discuss legendaries in each faction that are good for Hydra. Okay, and this is really just to kind of point out some underrated legendaries that people really don't think about, but they should. Okay, we're going to get right into the video right now. So we're going to go to Banner Lords. Okay. Lord Chamfort is an amazing legendary for Hydra. He can be like a mischief tank. He brings decreased attack, decreased accuracy. And this is 100%, right? 3-turn cooldown. Amazing. These two debuffs you absolutely do want. His A1, he can bring a decreased defense if he's lucky, right? He attacks one enemy and then, 45% chance for big decreased defense. But the big thing about him is, at the start of each turn, places a shield buff on this champion equal to 20% of their max HP for 2 turns. Will also place decreased speed debuff for 1 turn on whichever enemy attacks this champion. It's actually very good. It's especially good for the Head of Mischief because you do want him to have decreased speed on him. You also do want him to have decreased accuracy. And the decreased attack is just a piece de resistance for pretty much any of the heads, okay? Especially the Head of Wrath, okay? And then he does, well, this doesn't matter the aura, I guess, but there we go. Cythalia, very underrated champion. She kind of got put to the wayside in content because of Polymorph. But with Polymorph getting another nerf, she will probably come back into the meta. But she is amazing in Hydra, okay? She brings a couple things to the table. The first thing here is, when booked out, Aggress will remove all buffs from all enemies, and then it won't decrease their turn meter, but it will strip them of all their buffs, okay? So what it says is 100% chance of removing all buffs from all enemies, then decreases the turn meters of all enemies by 10% and fills the turn meters of all allies by 10%. So you will still get the turn meter fill on your team. Decreases the turn meters of all enemies by 20% and fills the turn meters of all allies by 20% if 5 or more buffs were removed. So it's not an additional. It just says it will go up to 20%. That's how I'm reading it. It's on a 3-turn cooldown. It's 100% chance when booked. Very much a great ability. This one here is great too. Lordly Embrace. It's a 2-turn cooldown, which it's bananas. It's a 2-turn cooldown. It's a single target. Removes all debuffs from a target ally and places block debuffs on them for 2 turns and heals them by 75% of their max HP. It's a big heal. It's a big heal. One can argue to put her in a curing set to make that even a bigger heal. It's crazy. But then it also heals all other allies by 20% of their max HP and fills their turn meters by 15% if the target is fully healed by this skill, which more than likely is. Well, that's what happens when you do that. There you go. And our A1 has a 60% chance to put HP burn on for 2 turns. It's actually pretty handy. She does bring, so this, you'll notice that older legendaries have this aura ability where it is affinity specific. Trunda has one, and then Cythalia has one. There's a bunch of others too. But increases magic ally resist in all battles by 50. I think if they do give her a buff or something, or rework, this just turns into a 60 or a 50 flat across the board. But I really do love Cythalia. Killian, I'm trying to think here. We're just going to go over all of them. He does, that doesn't count. Block active skills. Stun doesn't really do anything. I guess he can be a mischief tank because of this passive ability he has. And then he does decent damage. But like a lot of people, they just feed him into their Rhonda because Rhonda's really good. Sigmund. Now this is a strange case. I do regret a little bit not going for this guy. I can't remember if he was a fragment fusion or not, but I didn't go for him because that's when I started actually deciding, like, I don't need to do this fusion, I don't need to do that fusion. You can pick and choose. You honestly can pick and choose at any time, but I was going for every fusion at the time, and I think his was the first one. I'm like, this guy is just not worth it to me. But he's actually very solid. Nubkek, shout out to Nubkeks. He actually uses this guy to a great extent. I think he actually uses him as he's a tank, and I think he's a mischief tank too. But his A1 will attack an enemy, removes any shield buffs. Also plays 50% chance of removing one random buff. Has a 100% chance when booked out instead when attacking bosses. So the Hydra, it's a 100% chance. He also attacks all enemies 2 times on his A2. Each hit has a 75% chance of placing Provoke for a turn. You can get that up to 80 with Masteries. And then has 100% chance of placing Decrease Attack for 2 turns. So the Decrease Attack, when this is booked out, it's on 3-turn cooldown, is 100%. It kind of sucks that this taunt isn't 100%. I think it should. If you were to like give this guy a buff, Plarium, I think that's what you do. He also places this. It's a 3-turn cooldown when booked. Shield of the Realm. Puts a shield on all allies for 2 turns equal to 30% of his max HP. And then gives everybody a strengthen. And his passive, Equitable. Whenever this champion is attacked, 20% chance to decrease the duration of all buffs on the attacker by a turn. And has a 40% chance instead against bosses. So that's actually pretty decent. His auras for Doom Tower, but for Hydra, he's actually very decent. I like this guy. You can put him in like a shield accessory to really try and get him that extra buff to make him the little tasty tank that the Mischief wants. But yeah, I mean, very solid. I completely read him wrong, but you know, what can you do? Rhonda, no, I'd say no for Hydra. Black Knight, no again. He does bring 2 great buffs, continuous heal and increased defense on a 2-turn cooldown. That's kind of crazy. But everything else, he even got a rework. The Provoke, you can get to 80%. Really like to see this buffed, actually. Maybe with ally attack, you can probably get him to work to taunt the Head of Decay. But yeah, nothing really to write home about. Stultus, again, I don't think he's good enough for Hydra. He does do good damage, but he's just, it's not worth doing. Manaya, I don't know. I don't think she's good enough, man. I don't think she's good enough. Helior, definitely not good enough. Timid might be good enough because he just decreases buff durations. And can grant himself an extra turn, and he gives your team increased accuracy. And he can place Provoke. Just reading this here, whenever he does not activate because they're on. Yeah, so it doesn't. The Provoke doesn't even work on Hydra. So no. Lugan needs another buff. He desperately needs another buff. Very cool looking. Very For Honor looking kind of character. He heals with his A1. Heals all allies by 20% of the damage inflicted. Places shield on this champion equal to 10% of their max HP for 2 turns. I guess he could probably be I guess he could be, a Mischief tank. I have a couple. I might try him out. Let me see what people are saying about him on Hydra right here. 4.1, yeah, probably not great. If this was like Vrask, where this was based on percentage of his HP, that'd be even better. But currently, Vrask is better than him in this respect. He does bring increased defense on himself for 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown, which is kind of crazy. But he also places ally protection on allies for 2 turns. Both of these great buffs. Really wish that you'd put increased defense on everybody, but it is what it is. And then Mark of Silence. He has a 100% chance of placing block active skills. And it's a 4-turn cooldown. Cooldown's kind of long. But yeah. He's an okay option. I wouldn't go out of my way. Septimus Skip. He's a single target. And his survivability is low because he's attack based. Bricked the Bold, same thing. I really love this guy. You can use him to solo Dragon 25, but other than that, no. Kaya, I'm just gonna look at his gym. Okay. Revives all dead allies, 50% turn meter, 50% HP, gives them crit rate and crit damage buffs. This fills turn meter of all allies by 20% on 3-turn cooldown. Also removes 2 random debuffs from each ally. No. Places by for a turn. All turn meter reduction effects are decreased by 50% when used against this champion. Speed 19. Nah. I'd say nah, dog. Raglan, very underrated champion. She does need a buff, but she's very good for, anywhere in the game. Build her high resistance, high speed. Make her tanky, and she's going to do well for you, especially in Hydra. She attacks an enemy 3 times and will fill the turn meter of 3 random allies by 15%. Allies can only have their turn meters filled once per skill by this skill. So, essentially, counterattacks that happen in the same turn ally attacks. So, is what it is. Mercy, this is great. 4-turn cooldown. This, I think, honestly needs to be reduced, but maybe to a 3. Removes all debuffs on all allies, heals them, then the heal amount is proportional to this champion's attack. It's one of the very few in the game. But this here, it's on a 2-turn cooldown, revives an ally with 75% HP and a full turn meter. Siphi is one of the only other ones that actually does full turn meter. And she has a defense in all orders of battle. Baron, you want to make him great. I've seen some people use him to success, but I wouldn't put stock in him. Taras, obviously this guy's going to be great. Marichka, obviously going to be great. Quintus, not great. Skipping, moving on. Okay, High Elves, Legendaries. Elnaro, no. Pixiel, no. Alexander, he does bring decreased defense, and he can, no weaken. But yeah, that's about it. Attacks when he removes all buffs from the target, removes all, yeah, there you go. Yeah, just brings decreased defense and can remove all buffs from the target. Islan. Islan was one of the recent fusions that I did skip. Even though he was a fragment fusion, he wasn't bringing anything to the table for me, and I'm happy I skipped him. But he can be Mischief Tank, and he brings Provoke, and he brings decreased speed. So he's actually everything you want in a Hydra champion. So it's something to be considered, okay? Moving on, Shirmani, no. Lenathril, sadly, no. He is one of 3 champions in the game that do all ally attack. So it's everybody on the team, including themselves. But he's not cardio. No. He's not. This A2 hits like shit. This shield piercer BS thing's garbage. And then destroy enemy max HP. It's a no-go. Rowanus, I'm going to have to say no on this guy. He does hit extremely hard, but not worth it. Delania, she can be, like, she can help with, like, putting the resistance and everything down. She puts up block buffs, but, yeah. Attacks all enemies, 100% chance of invoke at 4-turn cooldown. Placing block buffs, debuff on each enemy for 2 turns. I mean, it is worth it. Lysandra, sadly, no. She does help, like, manipulate turn meter, but other than that, no. Royal Huntsman hits really hard, but no. Yannicka, actually very good. Up too hard. I haven't seen her used in Brutal, but she can do quite a bit of damage. Okay. Tatura Rhymehide, if you don't have a Duchess, if you don't have Rector Drath, Tatura is great because they place Perfect Veil. And then they place block debuffs and increase defense on all allies, and they bring a decreased accuracy with their A1. This action won't ever happen, but yeah. I think Tatura is very solid. It was a guaranteed champ at one time, and Christmas Fusion, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I say yes to Tatura if you don't have a Duchess, if you need a Perfect Veil champ. Sadly, Tatura doesn't revive. Is what it is. Ethos, probably only good up till hard. Bellinor, sadly not very good. Really anywhere but Clan Boss. Arbiter can be very good. I've seen people use her in the new Affinity team if you don't have the Shadowkin Void. And Supreme Elhain can do some damage, do some work for you up to hard. Okay? Sacred Order. I haven't touched on the Mythics. I don't know anything about them. So I'm not going to talk about them. This is just going to be about Legendaries. Rashard, not much. Corvus can do a lot of damage. Well, I guess not really, but sorry, misspoke there. His poisons and poison sensitivity, I'm thinking of him in like dungeon content. So yeah, sorry, no to Corvus because poison is not a valid like strategy or viable, I should say. Astralon, no. He's like a in between kind of nuker. You need accuracy on him and all that, but nothing that's gonna help you in Hydra. Same for Holstring. Arrow can hit really hard, especially after his buff. And he's easy to book, but he's just a damager. That's it. Abbess, no. Glacia, no. Martyr can actually work out. You can get a provoke off on her with her A3. And then she also brings counterattack and increased defense, so you can kind of make her like a mischief tank. But do know this, your life will be hell if the counterattack debuff is, or buff is stolen from her. Just heads up. Cupidus, everybody knows he's been doing a lot of good work in Hydra. People really like him. Archbishop Penthroy, I'm really bummed I never went after this guy because I think he was a guaranteed too. Not only does he look hella cool, and he's like got these, you know, Byzantine artwork designs on him, but he brings a lot to the table. He transfers debuffs. He heals. He places heal reduction, block buffs. Heal reduction really doesn't matter. He places increased defense and shield, and he'll remove all decreased defense and weakens from himself at the start of each turn. So he kind of like keeps himself protected, and then the entire time he's just damage mitigation. I really like him. I did not fuse by Vault of the Thorn. I actually pulled one, and I was actually really bummed when I didn't fuse him because I almost had all the fragments. I think he's the only one I just didn't get enough fragments for, and I wasn't paying attention. But he is a great provoker. And I mean damage mitigator, and he provides a great heal. So, yeah, I like this guy quite a bit. Sir Nick, no. Venus combined with Cubitus is great because you get a buff strip, decrease defense, and weaken. And now after her buff a couple years ago, she does 100% HP burn, and she can place poisons on the head. I think there's like 2 or 3 heads that actually can take poison. Great. Cardiel, everybody knows, is great. Constantine, no. Supreme Aethel, no. And Vitreous, I assume no. I don't know much about him, but he's single target. So, moving on to Barbarians. This is going to be a long video, folks, so we might have to do this in 2 parts. Altan, no. Single target, but he does hit for a lot. Skyla of the Drakes can be very good, but she can really fuck up your Mischief tank because she places a random increased speed buff. But she's actually really good. Opardin, I've seen people use him as a healer. Yeah, I don't use him. Chronum, very situational, but can be good for HP burn, like a combustion kind of thing. Cantra's amazing. She's probably one of the best provokers in the game, especially in Nightmare. She will constantly keep that head of decay taunted. It's just over. Elder Scarg, I've seen people do a lot of damage with Elder Scarg up to hard and brutal. Alzgor can do some work, especially when he's combined with Jetney, but I've only seen that in hard. Valkyrie, again, you're going to be risking getting the counterattack stolen. She can do a lot of damage if built right, but otherwise I wouldn't do it. Rorik's garbage. Rathmatab, not very good. Turvold, actually one of the best damage dealers for Hydra at single target if you combine him with Hex. Okay. Ursuga, again, she's not doing much but just damage mitigation. She doesn't bring really any heals or anything. But you could, in theory, try and make her a Mischief tank, but there's better options. Your Carl, again, his multipliers aren't great. They're, he's really built for arena, if that, dungeon crawling. Duhanarok, Chef's Kiss, amazing. Moving on. Ogren Tribes, Biggin, is great up till hard. After that, I don't see people using them. War Mother, bombs are not really a strategy in Hydra. Ignatius, again, what really holds Ignatius back is this is on a 5-turn cooldown. If this is a 4-turn cooldown, it'd be better. But he can place a provoke though, so, but not 100%. Only 75, 81 booked, or 81 mastered. Gerptuk is seeing a lot of use now. So when he first came out, and yeah, he does look like he is based on Gul'dan, yes. When he first came out, people hated him, but we all fused him, whatever. And it was a hard fusion too. It was an old traditional fusion, and it was hard. The thing that was wrong with Gerptuk was people didn't really see need for him. So he went into everybody's vaults. People didn't use him. And these poisons actually used to be big poisons, right? These ones he puts here. They used to be the big poison. So they did more damage. So then he got like a rework. These got turned into baby poisons. And then people were like, oh, this guy's actually not bad. And then they started using him for other things like Arena. And then now we're seeing him used a lot in Hydra, especially with the Affinity team. And I love it. I love Gerptuk. Now, Gerda, not great. Korugar does a lot of healing and damage mitigation, so could be a sleeper there. I've seen people use him to a decent effect. Shamrock, again, shout out to Nubkex here. Loves Shamrock, obviously. Hey, he's Irish. What are you going to do? But he brings decreased speed. He can be a mischief tank, and he's a menace. He's great. I have one. I was actually really happy when I pulled him. This guy, if I remember right, was the first St. Patrick's Day fusion, so good for him. And is this all battles? Yeah, all battle aura by increase accuracy by 90 or 70. So the thing is, if you are struggling to hit those requirements for stats, use Shamrock, put him in the lead. Drop Gall, again, he kind of falls off. He's not really doing a whole lot. Yeah, he's not bringing enough. Gurgo, again, not bringing enough. Grazer, I don't need to say more. He's amazing. People like Togren. I don't see it. And Bellatar just came out this week. I don't know much about him. He is an AoE reviver. He's just all around utility, it looks like. But there you go. Lizardmen. Okay. Dracomorph, not great for this. Roxham, really, you want him to be better, but he's not great for it. Basatha, this is really just an arena champion, and he just didn't work out. Bushan, again, he can hit pretty hard, but he's probably not going to get you very far in Hydra. The same with Rosin. If they were to change this bog down to a 4-turn cooldown or even a 5-turn cooldown, a lot better. But he is one of those older champions that are just lacking now. Vargal, Skullord Vargal. People hated this guy. Everybody went for him because he looked really cool. Then they found out he hit like a noodle, and then people were mad. But then people found out you could do a lot of dumb shenanigan shit with him, and you can really do that in Hydra because of his provoke, okay, and his damage mitigation. He's a bastard, okay. So yeah, use Skullord Vargal if you got him, and use him against the Head of Decay. Pythion, this is just Lizardman's version of Duchess. Better in some ways, worse in others. Not much to say there. Vergumkar, again, he removes all provoke debuffs. I mean, you can actually get some utility out of this guy, but I wouldn't count on it. Nekmothar, this is Chef's Kiss. Go no further. Anybody that's watched my channel, you'll see some older videos on Nekmothar. You know I love him. Krokmar. Krokmar is new. I seen Scratch did a video on him. I was impressed. Chris, amazing, 100%. 20 out of 10. Love it. Ramanatu doesn't do enough. Chagger doesn't do enough. Sulfurion, though. Sulfurion is amazing. I actually wish I had Sulfurion. 1, he has a great design. 2, he does a ton of damage. I love this guy. A lot of turn meter manipulation too. Skinwalkers. Okay. Norog doesn't do enough. Needs a buff. Longbeard doesn't do enough. Acorn Smashlord though. If this is this the cleanse champion damage inflicted? No, this is the cleanse. If this was a 3-turn cooldown cleanse, this guy would see a lot more use, I think. But yeah, he'll get you there if you need it, I think. Wouldn't put too much stock. Sadly, Razelvarg is another fusion I did skip, but you can enable a lot of dumb shit with this guy. If you have him, use him. Okay. Bambus. Bambus actually has utility in Hydra, and he's the only person in the game that places Enfeeble. So use him. War Chief. I just saw a Nightmare team do a shit ton of damage, and their only provoker was this guy. So I have to tell you, I guess use him. I don't know. I guess just use him. Uko. Uko's great. If you don't have an Uko isn't as good, funnily enough, even though he's a legendary, but he's great. Brings decreased attack on his A1. Brings block buffs and decreased accuracy on his A2. Conditionally, only if you remove all buffs from the heads. I'm going to tell you right now, when they get resurrected, they have that new head buff that can't be removed, so that won't work then. He also has an increased speed when he revives people. Well, he has an increased speed no matter what on his A3, but when he revives people, they also get block damage. This is on a 4-turn cooldown. But then he also, building him with enough accuracy, he's going to be stealing buffs and protecting those buffs. He also has a speed in all battles aura by 20%. So Uko's great. Brachus, sadly not good. Again, probably one of the coolest looking champions in the game, and just falls off. Nothing there. Nishak, again, great. I think he was last year's Christmas fusion, which was, yeah, because he was Nutcracker, because he came out with Georgian. Nishak, not good in Hydra. Snake Track, good in Hydra. A lot of damage mitigation, decreased speed, ally protection, reflect damage. I love it. Brings leech. Samson, I haven't seen a lot of people use him. I'd have to assume he doesn't do enough damage in Hydra to count. Cleopteryx, also, I think she needs a little bit of a buff in her damage. Hits like a wet noodle, but she brings X. And that's about it. She also brings buffs though, but yeah. Ragash, I love this guy. Shere Khan, I call him. He's not doing enough, but he can get you there. I think you can go from normal to hard with him. Lareka Great Hoof. Yeah, I wasn't sold on this one either. I didn't go for it, but she brings the decreased resistance debuff. One of now more champions than we thought for. Sun Wukong is great. You can use him in hard and normal, and he will do a lot of damage, especially on his A2. Okay. Coronar does not do enough. He does bring a provoke, and he actually, okay. Let's see, 4-turn, 3-turn cooldown. I'm going to say this. Coronar is actually viable to a certain point. The only thing about Coronar, I'm going to say this, is he's not going to be great when the Head of Mischief is in, or when the Head of Terror is in, because when he goes to counterattack, he's going to hit everybody, and he's going to get True Feared. So he's not going to be reliable unless you bring another cleanser with. But Coronar can be used. He can be a Mischief tank, and he can provoke the Head of Decay. So, like a budget Krisk. Tumezia, amazing. Does a ton of damage. Leorius, not so much. But let's look here. I want to show you something. Okay, I want to show you my Hydra keys. Okay. Tumezia. This is on Brutal. 53 million damage. Oh, and we'll get to Varl here too. 53. She does a ton of damage. I am constantly hitting for 900,000 to over 1 million with her A2. It is bananas. Yes, I'm sorry, I have to do it every time. Okay, grabbing that. Orcs. Grohack, not good enough. Kreela, not good enough. Tila, amazing. One of the few champions I don't have, and I actually really wish I had. She was a perfect example of a champion that was just garbage, sat in your vault. You were so upset when you got her. Now, I've seen plenty of people, again, shout out to Nubkex, put her to great use. She brings HP burn, she brings continuous heal, she brings Hex and Leech. She is great. Great. Danag, not good. Artak, very good. If you don't build him for solo builds, this guy can do a lot of work in Perception and Regen. Perception and Immortal. Robar, doesn't do enough. Gomlok Skyhide, he can bring decreased defense and weaken. But really that's about it. He can't seal turn meter or anything. King Garag, even after a little baby buff, he's still hitting like a little baby. Nagdar, even after his buff, he isn't going to be helping out. Iron Brago might. To be fair, he could probably be a Mischief tank because he's getting this extra buff here. He can provoke, but not reliably. It looks like, yeah, 75% chance. But he also does bring a lot of damage mitigation, survivability. Barl the Scourge. Any naysayer out there, I will meet me at 3 o'clock outside the flagpole if you want to talk about this guy badly. All right, I will fight. Barl is my boy. I love Barl. The fact that these scores do not even reflect or come close to how good he is. His damage ramps up exponentially. Okay, it's because of his passive. Increases his attack by 10% each time an active skill is used. It resets each round. Hey, guess what? The rounds don't reset during Hydra fights. And it stacks up to 100%. He doubles his damage. Build this guy with 6,000 attack. You're looking at 12,000, right? My math's probably wrong, but whatever. He brings important debuffs too. He brings a weaken and decrease attack, so you got to build him with a little bit of accuracy. I use him in brutal. I don't know if I don't think you really can get him to hard, but this Calamity Torrent, this attack, I have personally seen do over 1 million damage on a decapitated head. It's crazy. I love it. Jag. Oh, excuse me. We're gonna be wrapping up the first video here in a second. Jag Bonesaw. He does things. That's all I got for you. All right, wonderful. Moving on. I don't think he's good enough. Warlord. He's got better places than they came to be, but he does bring in block debuffs and a shield buff and heal. And that's about it. He can also increase the duration of all debuffs on target. Angar doesn't do enough right now, but he is on the buff list. Like, he's at the front of the line with Fortis. Thank God I got both of them. Raka is amazing. People really do love her. I think she's underrated for Hydra. But yeah, she's great. Great. Supreme Gaelic, nothing needs to be said. He's one of the best Hydra champions in the game, bar none. And that is going to be it for the first part to this series. We'll catch you in the next video.